explain it like I'm 5.
All right, Jen, the world of finance is complicated. I think this one I can kind of explain like you're 5, or at least I have a metaphor. So what's the question?
Okay, so what is compound growth? How does it work? Explain it like I'm 5.
I like this question because the dumber the question, or the dumber the question sounds, I think the more people appreciate the answer because everyone just, oh, compound growth, blah, 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 blah. But I think there's always this little uncertainty like, oh, how does that actually work? What's really happening there? And so I'm going to explain it using a board game analogy. You know the game of Risk? It's like
Yes.
a world map, and every country is a little colored territory, and you can put little armies in each country. And like, let's just imagine you're playing Risk, and let's say you start with one country. And the way Risk works is every time you have a country, you get a bonus each turn. And so if you control one country, this isn't the exact rules, but just for the sake of this analogy, we'll say for every country you control, you get a 1 army bonus. So your first turn you have one country, you get a bonus. And then maybe you need to wait until you have 3 or 4 armies in that country before you can take over a second country. And so, turn 1, you have one country, turn 2, you have one country, turn 3, you have one country, but you're getting more armies built up on that country. And then by turn 4, you might be able to attack a neighboring country and take that one over. And so on turn 4, you have 2 countries at the end of turn 4. So then the next turn starts, but now you get 2 bonuses, right? And so you're like, okay, now I have 2 countries, I get 2 bonuses. And then things go a little faster because now I might need only to wait 2 more turns before I can take over a third country. And now I'm getting 3 bonuses. Fast forward a few more turns, maybe you have 10 countries, and on that one turn, you get 10 armies. And then you can take over 2 entire countries just in one turn. It gets you to 12. And so while on your first, when you started the game, you need to wait 4 turns just to take over one country. But now on turn 10, because all of these countries are now producing new armies for you, you can take over 2 new countries just in one turn. Fast forward some more turns. Let's say you have 100 countries. Now you're getting 100 armies in one turn, and you can take over 20 countries in one turn. And so you went from, waiting 4 turns to get your second country, just one country, to in one turn, you're getting 20 countries in one turn. That's literally compound growth there because the bigger the bigger it gets, the faster it goes. And the faster it goes is because each of these countries is basically army producing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how Risk feels. At the beginning, it's slow. It's like a slog. You're really trying just to like get through one country. But then by the end, if you're winning, you got like packs of like 60 armies just like ravaging and running through that's the feeling of compound growth. And it's true with money too. At the beginning, if you're starting your investing journey, your first few bucks is going to be a slog. In fact, your money's not going to make much money for you. You're not going to really get much from all these countries producing armies. You're going to get much more from like your job, from savings. So I'm going to run through a quick math example. This is going from explain like maybe 7 to now I'm explaining like you're 13 or something.
Okay.
But
Buckle
if
up.
you save, buckle up, 8-year-olds, because this is going to be over your head. You need to be able to multiply numbers. So like, let's say you save $500 per month. Over the course of a year, you saved $6,000. 500 times 12 is 6,000. And let's say you put that into an investment, getting a 10% return. 10% of 6,000 is $600. And so in year 1, you've saved 6,000 and your investment has returned 600. Not bad, and I think a lot of people who listen to me and watch my content, they're like, $600, man, like that can't even buy anything. I thought you were talking about millions. I'm like, okay, we'll get there. In year number 2, you're still saving $500 a month. So you save your $6,000, and then that $6,000 you save gives you 10% return, which is another $600. But 2 magical things happen in year number 2. First, your first year's savings, that $6,000 you saved in year number 1, because you saved $6,000 in year number 1, that pays you again because the return, it's kind of like your second turn in Risk, right? You get another army from it every single turn, even though you already control it. So
Right.
that $6,000 you already saved pays you again. So it paid you $600 last year. It pays you another $600 this year. So even though you're only saving it once, it's paying you every single year, which is
Mm-hmm.
part of the magic. Then, so that's magical thing number 1 that happens. magical thing number two that happens is the interest from the previous year. You know how you made $600 in interest the first year?
Yeah.
That now is part of your, part of your countries, part of your armies.
Mhm.
That $600 pays you interest. So you get $600 from this year's savings,
Mhm.
$600 from last year's savings, plus $60 from last year's growth,
Mhm.
meaning you get a total return of $1,260. So in year number one, you got $600 in growth. In year number two, you get more than double that, $1,260. And so that's the beginning of compound growth, where the growth turns into more growth, right?
Right.
Fast forward to year number 10, when you add up all those years of previous savings and add up all that math I just did, now the growth in year number 10 is $9,562. That means 10 years in, the growth of your investments is actually more than you're even saving, which
Mhm.
is crazy, right? And 10 years, it's a long time. If I said you're going to jail for 10 years, you'd probably be very sad. But if I
Mm.
said, Jen, you're younger than me, but not a lot younger than me. And if I said, 10 years ago, what were you doing? How long ago? Like, how long does that feel to you? Like your age 10 years ago, what you were doing?
10 years ago, 29. Where was she? Oh my God. New York City, living on a dream and a prayer.
Does it feel like a long time ago to you?
I guess perspective is everything, but maybe not.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like in one hand, I feel like high school was 2 minutes ago. And on the other hand, I was
Mhm.
like, that's like 6 lives ago. But
Mhm.
for sure, 10 years can go quick. And, if you start when you're 29, when you're 39,
Mhm.
your investments will be growing faster than you're even saving, right? So you could even
Right.
stop saving altogether. And then now you're on this trajectory, right?
Right.
And that's your 10. Fast forward even further, in year 40, now instead of, in year one you made $600, in year 10 you made $9,000. In year 40, you make $265,000 a year just in growth. And so
Mm.
that's the magic of compound growth, which is you're still just saving that $500,
Right.
but the growth gets bigger and bigger and bigger, just like your armies get bigger and bigger and goes faster and faster and faster. And
Right.
it feels very slow. One of the most common pieces of feedback I hear from early stage investors is, why is this going so slow, Jeremy? I've saved $10,000 a year for the last 2 years, and I only have $25,000. And I said,
Mhm.
whoa, that's going incredibly well. You've saved 20,000, you have $5,000 of growth. And
Mhm.
that's the very early stage. Most of your money in the early stages comes from your savings, but
Right.
it started the snowball. It's bigger and bigger and goes faster and faster. And so it feels slow at the beginning because most of your money is from the savings. That's $6,000 you're saving. In our example, I just used the $12,000 you saved in the first 2 years is much more than the $1,860 in growth,
Right.
but it's the beginning of the snowball that goes faster and faster. And eventually, after 40 years in this example, you've saved $240,000, which is
Mhm.
obviously a lot of money, but
Mhm.
your total investment is $2.9 million.
Mm.
So over 90% of your investment isn't what you put in, it's the
Right.
growth and the growth of the growth. And
Right.
so that's what compound growth is. It's just starting small, the snowball, your money, all your armies grow, the armies get more countries, the countries get more armies, get more countries.
Mhm.
And that's almost an exact parallel to, you buy more shares of stock, the stock produces more growth and dividends. You buy more stocks and dividends, and that's, the stocks are like the countries,
Yeah.
except, countries and armies kill people and stocks, I don't know, are numbers on a website.
Yeah, I'd say the actual process, much like a lot of personal finance, of saving and taking the time and just letting your money grow is quite boring. But watching your money grow and retiring a millionaire is very exciting. So I think that that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
these are very hard lessons to learn because I think we think this should be exciting. I should be like, looking at charts on a screen and, doing all this fancy stuff. And really,
Mhm.
the most important part of building wealth is just the waiting. You set it
Yeah.
up, you do it, and you wait. And it's this tough pill to swallow, but that's what's going to make you the most rich. Messing
Mhm.
with it more is going to make you less rich.
Mm. Preach. Okay,
Yeah.
that's compound growth. Hope you enjoyed. Let's move on to our next segment.